Welcome to Live Large Universe, everybody. We're 1 minute away from showtime here, so come on in and drop in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from today, and if you have any questions for Smasher, make sure you drop them in the chat box. So guys, this is a live YouTube stream. Feel free to go in there right now. There's an option here to share this out. So share this out to your social media channels. Tag somebody as you share it out. Make sure that you get this out and so people can watch it. And we'll be chatting with Smasher here just shortly. So we're 38 seconds away from showtime, and we're going to be coming to you live. So right now, I want to see in the comments who's watching, because guys, you know what? We don't know who's watching until you drop a comment. We don't have that visibility. So let us know that you're here watching. Tell us where you're watching from, and please, if you have any questions for Boondock, the Boondock Film Series and or for Smasher personally, make sure you drop those in the chat box and let us know. All right, guys, we're going to drop down the screen here, and you're going to see me here in just a minute. So let's get rid of the clock counter and get rid of the LiveLARGE universe. So, all right, guys, one more thing I want to chat with you guys about before we get rolling here is we have a brand new show sponsor for our prizes. So you guys have been doing this for a long time, and Fly Racing has been helping us, Woody's Racing has been helping us, and we now have Mountain Lab gear. This time, you guys, you're going to get in to win Mountain Lab saws. So we got a backcountry chainsaw. We've got the folding handsaw. These are both in my tunnel bag, and when you're out there riding with guys like Smasher, you're going to need this kind of stuff because you're going to get into some trouble. We're going to have some fun. So, all right, guys. So let's go ahead and drop this down, and we'll talk to Smasher here in just a second. So, Smasher, we're coming live to you here in 3, 2, and 1. How are you, sir?
Terrific. Absolutely terrific.
Just terrific, huh?
Just terrific. Ducky. Savvy.
Were you just as terrific, Smasher, when you were on Action Sports Podcast? I heard you cheated on me. I'm busting you right here, right now.
Calling me live on that, huh?
Yep, right here live, buddy.
You know, you walked up right as he was trying to get me to do the podcast, and you got me good, man. Well, you caught me red-handed with the pants down and everything.
Well, that's okay, but just so you know, Colton Passy over there at Action Sports Podcast and Aaron Frazier, those guys are good buddies of mine, and I'm grateful that you signed up for their podcast. So this is actually secretly a little shout out for them over there. If anybody doesn't know those guys, get over to their Action Sports Club on Facebook and check out their Action Sports Podcast on all the different platforms, guys. Just fellow podcasters here in the sled industry having some fun. And Colton made sure he called me the other night, and he goes like, John, I want you to know I interviewed Smasher before you. But mine's going live before his.
He did.
That's okay. So he says he'll post your interview up a little later. So I warned Smasher that I'm gonna be surprising him throughout the night with little tidbits just like this. And so I know Smasher rolls with it. Like, if anybody's watched the Boondocker films, like, I'll be honest with you, it's probably the only reason I watch Boondocker Films is to watch Smasher and all of his smart aleck comments, right? Isn't that the whole thing?
Talking that trash.
I'm probably not probably not the only one. So hey, awesome. So Smasher, we got people here watching. We got some of your friends. Mr. Nick Reedy is here watching. So he says you're his hero, just so we're clear. And we've got some other folks here. Todd Swing is here. We've got, again, some of these tags I'm not familiar with. So Snowbound Tours is here with us. Mike Morrison's here from British Columbia.
Oh, Devin.
Yep, awesome. So everybody, if you're watching, make sure you drop it in the comments and let know where you're watching from. And as we get moving here, we're going to talk about answering some questions at the end. I think this is going to be a good one where we got the crew coming in. They're going to be here, and we're going to go fun. So Smasher, you're right. So you and I have known each other now for, I lose track of all the years. Probably when you and I were 12, or maybe it was only a few years ago. But you and I act like...
Well, I'm only 22, so...
I know, right?
So you've been that long ago.
You and I still act like...
Probably
you and I still act like we're 12 on the snow. So it feels like it was just yesterday. But yeah, so we've chatted for a long time, and I'll be honest with you, I've been a big fan personally. Like, to me, every year it's part of my annual routine to watch the Boondocker Film Series, and one of my favorite things is always the little snarky comments and the little funny comments that that Smasher makes. So we want to get to know a little bit about the man behind the scenes, because here's the thing: when I watch the show and when everybody else watches the show, we get to see Smasher, the snowmobiler. We get to see Smasher, kind of the funny guy. But what we don't know is who the heck is Smasher, kind of behind the scenes. And I'd love to take a minute and let everybody get to know you a little bit. And in our discussion earlier this week, or last week maybe it was, we talked, and you shared with me that you grew up in Alaska. That's something I didn't know. So tell us a little bit about that. What was it like growing up in Alaska?
It was a blast, dude. I couldn't ask for a better childhood. My dad always wanted to move back to Alaska. He was born in Anchorage. So he always wanted to move back there, and we ended up flying, and he got a job. We drove halfway up. I think we moved from Colorado Springs, and we moved up to Bethel, Alaska, but about halfway up, some things happened with my dad and my stepmom, and the truck just wasn't going to make it or something. I can't remember. That was so long ago. But anyways, flew up and started in Bethel, Alaska, and I lived there for 3 or 4 years. Then we moved to Dillingham, Alaska, and we moved to Bethel. Our only means of transportation was a 250 Polaris Star 1981, buddy.
So
that was what we had. That was my.
I got to know, is there a coincidence that you started out on a Polaris and you seem to still be riding a Polaris? Is that a coincidence, or did somebody influence you at a young age?
No, my dad bought a Polaris, and then we went to. I bought a. My parents bought Arctic Cat a couple of times, and then I bought an old Iron Dog 570 Exciter Yamaha,
Yeah.
and it would just end up being just a pile of junk. And I bought that with my own money, and that's what I rode for a while. But no, Polaris has always been where my heart is, and
Yeah.
just no reason to leave.
Yep. So the old 250 that you used to ride as a kid, did that thing side hill pretty wicked, pretty wicked side hiller, was it?
No, you know what? It didn't do too well on solid dog posts either. My parents had a dog team, and I ran that thing into a couple of posts and totaled the front end and messed up the tub night before Christmas, and thought my dad was going to end my life. And yeah, it was a little bad there for a while. I guess, my nickname serves me well for back when I was a kid.
Smasher.
Yeah, my dad should have named me that back then. But yeah, so anyways, that was our means of transportation for the first few years, I believe, in Bethel, Alaska. And then we moved to Dillingham. That's when I really started to find my passion for sledding. When I was in Bethel, it was mostly dog teams, and I used to race dogs quite a bit back then. And that was before I really, snowmobile was just a means of transportation. So dog teams, sled dogs was what I was into. And then once I figured out there's an adrenaline rush and snowmobiles, then life seemed to change for me.
That's awesome. So is there any parallels that we should know about between dog sledding and snowmobiling? Like, is there part of dog sledding that you got into that kind of like anything that inspired you to become a snowmobiler? Is it just the fact that the snowmobile is faster, or what is it that the opportunity? What tell us a little bit about dog sledding? So
dog sledding's a lot of work, dude. Picking up dog poop and putting hay in the damn dog boxes in their houses, and cleaning up with them when there's breakup, and just the amount of work and training it took to do the dogs.
Yep.
I just had it was over. It was a very short time of when I did it. I won a few ribbons and a few races against a girl that I had a clash with, and her and I would go back and forth. So now once I found out snowmobiling was a lot more fun, you could go a lot faster, and I could time myself to go to my girlfriend's house back to home. That's where it was.
So what brought you down to the lower 48 then? So tell us a little bit about that transition from Alaska down to, let's call it civilization maybe. I mean, no offense to the folks in Alaska, because I think nowadays, they got it pretty good up there. So
the truth is I was supposed to move to Vegas with my high school sweetheart.
Okay.
And we ended up breaking up. I met another girl and her brother and his friends, and she signed me up for college, and we moved down here. And she just asked me one day, said, "Hey, we're going to move to University of Nevada, Reno. You want to go?" And I said, "Sure." So she signed me up for classes. I told my dad and my best friend, I said, "Hey, I'm moving to Nevada." And my best friend said, "I want to go." And he bought a car, and we drove down the Alaska highway and drove all the way down here. And I figured I was just going to come down to school here. And man, I met my wife, got married, got a job, and here I am 30 years later.
Very good, very good. So down in the lower 48, and you landed, I don't know if you mentioned this already, but you landed in Reno now is where you're at, right? In the Reno area?
Yeah, Sparks, Nevada. I meant same thing, Sparks, Nevada, Reno, Nevada. Yeah, so same thing, yeah.
Cool. And so take us back to a time smasher when, you were kind of a snot-nosed little brat, and you were looking at the sled industry, right? In the sled film industry specifically. Like you shared with me earlier this week that you grew up watching, or kind of even in your early 20s probably were watching sled neck films, right? Like I think that's something that we all had as part of a staple of our consumption diet of snowmobiling back in the day. So tell us a little bit about that evolution from watching sled neck films to your first opportunity to maybe become in a sled. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but what was the inspiration for wanting to be in sled films, and how did you, what was that transition like?
So sledding being a major part of my life growing up in Alaska, I had no idea. I had no idea where sledding was going to take me. It was just a means of transportation, and that's how we went camping, and that's how I followed my friends around when they went hunting. When I moved to the lower 48s down here to Nevada, when I graduated from college, I just wanted to have a sled again. My next
Yep.
door neighbor sledded, so I got back into it. And it just I had no idea. I had no idea. I'd watched Dan Gardner and Slednecks and Redneck Fury, Jeff Kyle, Cody Brosher, let's see, Jay Quinlan, Chris Barant, a lot of those guys, even a little bit of Dan Adams. And I just, these guys to me were above and beyond. I had no idea, no idea where it was going to go. And then if you want to keep going with that,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I met a buddy of mine bought a pair of HMK boots off of Snow West, off of the magazine. And so I
Yeah.
bought a pair, and then that pair went bad. And then I contacted HMK, and it just kept growing from there. They kept returning my boots and giving me better boots, better boots. And then Kirk was coming down to Reno, Nevada, and texted me and said, "Hey, I'm going to be down there. I need somewhere to store my sleds." So he decided to store my sleds at my house. He brought me a better set of boots. I went out and rode with him with it was like Jason Simler, Dan Phillips, Randy Sherman, Chris Barant, and just kind of watch those guys, and
Yeah.
asked Kirk, how I could get into the sled industry. And so he gave me a feller's name named Jeff Aiello.
Okay.
And Jeff Aiello kind of got a hold of Jeff Aiello, and Sierra Sport and Marine sponsored me a sled. I went out and rode with Anthony O'Berty and Shane Kelly and Jesse O'Rourke, and
Yeah.
that's kind of just how it all grew.
So
And then Fatty and Dan. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, like, so were you in Reno at that time? Is that kind of a time when you were
Yeah.
still in Reno? Okay. And so it may not be obvious to everybody who doesn't know that area well. What is your quote unquote riding area? Because I think of Reno, Nevada, I think of the desert, right? So like, where are you riding near Reno, Nevada? Just so everybody else is aware. So
Oh, you know what? People get this false idea of what it's like because we do live in a desert. I mean, we're not much of a different
oh, I know.
than
Yeah.
Salt Lake or Boise. I mean, we
Yep.
do. The Sierra Mountains have great snow. I mean, when it comes in, I mean, we get record amounts of snow. It's crazy how much snow we
Yeah.
get. It doesn't last as long as other people's snow, but it does. And so up near Truckee, you can ride Donner. You can ride down by Blue Lakes, which is down by Kirkwood.
But it's almost all in
Ebbets
It's almost
Pass.
all in California, though, right? Almost 90% of the riding
Yeah,
probably is in California,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. You can go to Elko and ride Elko. Elko's great. I heard Winnemucca's
Yeah.
got some good stuff. I've never really ridden
Yeah.
Winnemucca, but Elko, Lamoille Canyon, I've ridden there, and that's great. But
Yeah.
yeah, so all this took place down here, and then Gardner and the Boondockers crew showed up, which I kind of knew them familiar, and they showed up, and so Anthony O'Berty was like, "Hey, we're gonna go film with the Boondockers crew.
Yeah.
Don't total your sled before we get there." I was like, "Well, what's that supposed to mean? Like, come on." And so I went and rode with them, and Fatty ended up totaling a sled like, oh, heck, I don't know, an hour into the ride. He went to go up to shoot. It was solid ice, and he comes tumbling down this mountain, totals a sled. And I was like, who is this clown? Like, what is he doing? And then that's kind of how I met Dan.
Okay. And so like
And
immediately
then
like you started riding with Dan and you were a professional sled filmer, right? So no, that's not how it worked.
pretty much he needed me. It was like the Chicago Bulls,
Yeah, I mean,
they needed Jordan, and
let's
Dan
be
saw me,
let's
and
be
Dan was like, dude,
honest.
we need this
Yeah, I
guy.
mean, let's be
Yeah.
honest. Dan Gardner would be nothing. Boondockers would be nothing without Smasher, right? I mean, that's kind of how it went, right?
You said it, not me. I mean, the truth does come out. No, so we were riding that day, and I saw him. He's a real quiet guy. I don't know if you know him. He doesn't say much. He says like and ha,
Fun fact.
good job.
Stop.
Yes.
Fun fact. I think you know this, but I don't think most others know this. So Dan and Jackie, right? Dan's better half,
Uh-huh.
Jackie, right? Jackie,
Absolutely.
yeah, Jackie grew up. You know where Jackie grew up?
Yeah, over in old Minnesota.
Yeah, Brainerd, Minnesota. we're both from the same
Yeah.
hometown. I actually knew her before she moved out west and got hooked up with all of you crazy folks, right? And so,
I didn't know that.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. So actually, I was in a snowmobile club, and we were doing an event on a ski hill, like a little hill climb, and she actually showed up and helped volunteer one day in one of the events that I was helping coordinate a bunch of volunteers, and I got to know her then. And here I looked in a few years later, and here in the Boondockers film, her name's in the credits. I'm like, I know Jackie.
You couldn't have warned her?
I know, right? I tried to, but like I barely knew you guys at that point myself. So we still
Yeah, so anyways,
we still thought you were cool back then. I mean, that's honestly what was going on. So we're like, good for her.
so we rode that day, and I had no idea. I knew who Dan was, but I
Yeah,
didn't know the Boondockers film that well, and so I was just doing everything possible. I was jumping off of cornices where solid ice and side hilling on solid ice, and into that day, Dan said, it was good riding with you, and gave me his phone number. So that was into it. We all packed up and away we went, and it was a great day. And I get home and I'm telling my wife about it, and she's like, "How's your day?" And I was like, "Oh, it was great. I met Dan Gardner, and I watched this guy total a sled, and blah blah blah." And then I'm pretty sure it was that night Dan called me, and it showed up on my phone. And I grabbed my phone. I was like, "Look who's calling me! Look who's calling me!" And Dan was like, "Hey, very cool to ride with you. Come out and ride with us sometime." And man, every day, or not every day, every weekend that he would call, that it happened, I would go. My wife would support me 100%. I'd say, "Hey, I'm going to Utah," and she would say, "Chase your dream or follow it," and
I mean,
I would go.
is
I
that
never.
is that day and that phone call basically the best day of your life and the beginning of Smasher really having any true self value? Is that really what it came down to, Smasher?
It was. I had no idea where it was going to go.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah,
I really had no clue. I felt way out of my league. I had a couple of
yeah,
friends that own Sierra Sport and Marine here, John Opio, and he was the one that kind of boosted me along, gave me my first sponsorship on a sled. And
yeah,
it was like, "Man, go with it. We'll help you 100%." So
yeah.
him and Fatty, Ryan Nelson, those guys, they took me right in. I had a great time. I fit right in with them, and I would say that Fatty and I started off pretty much, we were
Yeah,
buds right to get go, and then
yeah.
Fatty got involved with his family and stuff, and so then I pretty much let Dan grab a hold of my belt loop, and his career took off.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to take a little bit of what I'm going to call like a little mini commercial break to make sure that anybody who's watching this show right now, first, if you haven't already, drop it in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. If you guys do so, you're going to be entered in to win some sweet Mountain Lab gear saws that I promoted at the beginning of the show here for that. But here's the other thing, Smasher, is you notice the name of the show. Like, this is a pop quiz for you, Smasher. What's the name of this show? Like, what's the name of this platform? Do you remember?
Live large, live large.
Live Large Universe, right? You got it mostly, right? And so Live Large and what it's about, right? I mean, just going to go on a little soapbox here. So live life to the fullest, right? Make the most of every day and make a difference to others, right? So here we are living our best life, making the most of all of our days, getting out there and just getting after it. Good days, bad days, we make the most of it, and we're out there making a difference to others. And I think, Smasher, I think of you, I think of all those things because, man, the way you've chased your dreams, the way you've pushed yourselves, the way you've taken advantage of, sometimes not great situations, which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit here. And then, you also, to me, just this superpower that you have, in my opinion, is humor, right? And so making a
Right.
difference to others and making people smile and just kind of being the goofy guy right in the middle of the team. And I want you to kind of just embrace this thought of live large and tell us like maybe a couple of stories from your days with the Boondocker crew. Like what are your top 2 days or top 2 events that happened over the years
Ooh.
that that you want to highlight? Because I mean, I remember when Shane Kinnison was on, you guys gave him a hard time about certain topics, and we talked about it. And so far, nobody's harassing you in here. Like, there's some of the guys in here, but they're not doing a very good job of, dropping in any hints on things I should be asking you about yet. So, guys, drop it in the comments. Let us know some questions for Smasher if you want us to bring it up. Let's do this. But Smasher, top 2 memories of riding with the Boondocker Films previous to this year. So, previous to this
Ooh,
last
boy,
film
that's
season, right? Come on, you're on the
boy,
spot. You're on
that's
the spot, buddy.
um,
Make it happen.
probably being invited to Canada to go ride with Davidoff.
Oh wow.
Fatty, Dan, myself, Nelson, and another guy. Yeah, being invited to Canada, that was big. I remember one of my first biggest drops because I'd never really done drops until I met Dan and Fatty.
Okay.
Dan was kind of the cool and collective. Hey, if you don't feel it, don't do it. Fatty's like, "You got this, just go." And I
Here, let
remember,
me help you.
Yeah,
What are friends
yeah.
for, right? What are friends for?
That that was probably one of my top ones. Man, I don't, dude,
So
John. There's
no,
so
let's
many.
take it back to a moment in time. Let's go deep here, right? You talk about riding with Dan Davidoff. There's probably some people watching who maybe don't even know that name, but let me tee this up for you guys a little bit. So Dan Davidoff, am I saying his name right? Dan Davidoff, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So Dan was one of these like just epic like icons in our sport. He was known as kind of the most intense, over the top, one of the craziest riders I've ever met. Like he was fearless, right? And to have the opportunity to go ride with him and to see him in action in person and to be able to do that, take us back to that day that you got to ride with him and give us a flashback to that day and what was it like riding with Dan that day?
He was just intense, man. The guy just had so much love. A lot of people thought he was a kind of crazy, but he just had so much passion for the sport. He just really was. And you know what? He was fearless. He was afraid to go downhill. That man would not go downhill. Myself, Dan, and Davidoff all went up this chute. Well, Dan and I were going to go down, and he was like, "Where are you guys going?" And Dan and I were like, "We're going down." He's like, "No, man, you got to go around." He wanted to go all the way around this whole entire mountain to go back down to the bottom. And Dan and I were like, "No, we're not going to do that." But very, very cool guy. Just so much passion for it. When I was doing that drop, he was like, "You got this, Smasher." I'm like, "Dan, that's a big." Or Davidoff, this is a big drop, man. He's like, "No, you got it." Just and he wanted to wait. He wanted to wait for the sunlight to pop out. As soon as the sunlight got out, man, he was basically pushing me, going, "Go, man, go, man, go." I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, this is not me. And he basically made me go up, but he was a lot of fun, man. We had a lot of great times. His nickname Crazy Canadian really fit him
Yep.
well. I mean,
Yep.
he pushed the limits, and to see some of the stuff that he used to climb on a VMAX or you know
I
like
mean,
I can't even tell you go into the
there's
chutes where he used to climb, and
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
probably, I mean, in my personal humble opinion here, take that for what it's worth, is Dan probably has what I consider the most iconic film clip I've ever seen in the sled industry. It was this chute that he climbed that was literally almost vertical, and at the top was this giant wind lip that I don't even think it was vertical. I think it was backwards, right? Like where if you hit the
Yeah,
top of it, and
yeah.
it was literally one of those places that if you didn't make it, you literally like trust me, you wouldn't have made it, right? And he pulled it off.
It's
Somehow he pulled it off, and he ricocheted off the top of that cornice, bucked the sled to the left, and somehow landed up there off the skin of his teeth and pulled it off. And I know Jim Phelan, I believe, is the one who filmed that. And it's one of those iconic scenes that I almost see every year coming through my Facebook feed. So
Yeah, and I think that that's one thing that people get the misconceive is that you see it on film and you're like, oh, I could do this. I remember
yeah, yeah,
Dan doing I believe it was Wake Up Call or something like that. And I know Shane's hit it and Aaron Case has hit it,
yeah,
and a bunch of us have all hit it. But
yeah,
these drops and these climbs are just ridiculous.
yep,
When you go into the valley of the chutes where Dan was climbing some of these, it's so damn steep. You wouldn't
yeah,
believe. I mean, you look at it, and you're like, "Oh my god, dude,
yep,
this is ridiculous." But
yep,
yeah,
crazy.
very cool. So that was a great trip. That was absolutely
All right,
probably one of my all-time greatest
all
trips.
right. I'm gonna help you out here. So let's call him Papa Dan. Papa Dan's
Okay.
watching. Dan Gardner, Papa Dan, right? Dan's watching. He says, ask Smasher about his first ride in Utah.
Ah,
All right, I know this is going to be
yeah,
good because Dan threw it out there, and Dan wouldn't bring it up if it wasn't good. So bring us back.
yeah.
What year was it? How many years ago were we talking about, and what were you riding that day?
Oh, you know what? I think it was 2009 or 10. I was on a brand new Assault that Sierra Sport and Marine had built for me. It was my first sponsored sled. I show up at Fatty's house. We load the sleds. We're going down to Beaver. I think it was Beaver, down to Beaver. It was just dumped like 3 feet. So I don't know. Well, most people don't know this. Utah snow, Idaho snow, Colorado snow is much different than Cali. Cali gets some blower powder, but it's still not as light as Utah snow. Utah snow
Okay.
is so light. It's like flour. So we get there and we unload the sleds and we take off. And I believe Fatty was leading us, and we're going down this road. And there's 3 feet, 2 feet of snow on it. You're just kind of playing along. Well, when you go to turn, I mean, it's just basically a little bit of a hip motion, and then the sled will go. Well, I was coming around a corner, going just balls to the wall, trying to keep up. I'm new. I get invited. I'm all excited. Hey, I'm gonna go film with the Boondockers crew. And I come around this corner and I pull a little bit too hard, and I go and oh man, I center punch a tree that's about 24, 36 inches around. I hit this thing and it just buckles in front of my sled. And like a little kid,
So just to
you
be
know, I jump
clear,
off and I'm trying to.
just to be clear, the tree didn't move. Is that what you're saying?
Oh no,
Yeah.
the tree was solid. And I'm trying to pull my sled back and get there before Dan and everybody else shows up. And Dan shows up and Fatty shows up and whoever else was with us. And I'm so mad. I like threw my helmet, probably, I don't know, 50 feet. I was so mad. I was like, I just want to go home. I'm like, I'm done. I'm sorry. I ruined your guys' day. And Fatty, the trooper that he is like, no, we can fix this. So he saws down a tree, puts it in my bumper. We bend the bumper back. It doesn't go quite to exactly where it was. So I think I took off my shirt and maybe someone else did. And we stuck it around the rim of the hood so that snow wouldn't get in there. And we fixed it and away we go. But this is my first day with them in Utah, and I just felt like I made a complete.
So you're like, okay, like I'm over here in Nevada, I'm driving over to Utah, I'm gonna hook up with the Boondocker crew, which you probably did a little of this, like yep, I'm a big deal, right? I'm a big deal.
Yeah.
Look at
Oh,
me,
yeah.
I'm here filming with the Boondocker crew today, and then right out of the parking lot, you smoke a tree, huh? That's pretty epic.
I want to say it was like 1.2 miles, John. 1.2 miles I made it before I smoked that tree.
Is that your shortest ride ever, or not?
No, it's snow. I went 0.7 miles and hit a buried rock that was underneath the snow, and it bent my trailing arm on my 2001.
How did I know that wasn't your shortest ride? Like that was a good guess. So all right,
someone probably commented.
So since you have a photographic memory smasher, I'm just gonna throw out a random date, just a completely random date, and I just expect you to kind of just flash back to that moment in time and tell us the story of January 9th, 2021. January 29th, 2021. Like it just is a random date I just picked up out of nowhere, just I'm not sure where I just came to my mind. Like it was like an epiphany I just had. January 9th, 2021. Take us back to that day.
Have you ever heard of the Titanic?
I have. Yeah, that was
Remember? And they said
a boat, right?
Unsinkable ship, right?
Yeah.
It was unsinkable.
Okay.
Well, let's just say that Dan Gardnerl is the Titanic.
Okay.
Okay. Well, he ran into an iceberg named Smasher.
Okay.
And away it went, buddy. That was it. You're going to have to watch. You know what? I don't want to, the suspense is probably killing people, but you're going to have to watch Boondockers 2021.
Well, we're going to get to that in a minute, but I think it's really important because I've had multiple people, I'm giving up my secrets here, but I've had multiple people tell me, ask Smasher on the air here about January 29th. So I'm going to assume you have full permission to tell this story. So let's talk about January 9th, 2021. What happened?
It was just, so Dan, I'm going to give Dan, we'll give Dan a little bit of props, and Fatty, Google boy will tell it true, but Dan usually gets the best of all of us. But that one day,
he's like a machine, right? Like, just to be clear, Dan Gardnerl is the guy who, just for fun, he runs 100-mile marathons, right? Isn't that like the whole thing? That's his thing?
Something wrong upstairs, man. I don't know. There's screw loose.
Yeah.
He likes to be alone by himself in the woods. Who knows? I mean, it's just kind of spooky. But yes, the kid is, we call him Danimal, as everybody knows. We call him Danimal, but
very nice.
It was just that one day, John. I was having a great day. My sled was running, perfect. Dan has always told me there's no excuses. I don't want to hear excuses. I just want to see results. But he claims that, I don't know, his sled wasn't running right. His gloves didn't fit right. His boots were wet. Jackie didn't give him a kiss goodbye. I don't know.
Something happened.
But you know what? January 9th, I was top dog that day.
Top dog? Like, what? Describe to us how this happened. Like, I mean, he got stuck and you just shoot it up right past him, or like, was there?
Like there what? There was just a couple of times that I got the better of him. He got stuck a few times. I didn't get stuck. I passed him. I mean, I really don't. I can remember one spot we came through the creek in Stanley, and he went to go around everybody trying to be cool, and he got stuck. And I said, well, if everybody wasn't in my way, I'd top dog him. I'd go around him. So I think it was Brock Berry, Ben Burke, and maybe Nick Reedy. Nick, of course, instigates this because he's got the camera out.
All right.
He's like, well, do it, top dog. If you want to go, go. So everybody moved out of the way. Well, now I couldn't back down. And my Volk sled just went right up and over. And
boom.
I got him. It was just, there's not many times in life that Dan will let you post that he got stuck, let you know he got stuck. He doesn't want your help when he gets stuck. Yeah. So I got him. And it's Nick did a great job in capturing it.
Oh, so it's in the video.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so
Come
like
on. We
the one and only time that Smasher outrode Dan Gardner got on film, that's like epic right there, right? So Dan, I know you're watching. I just want to say I'm so proud of you for allowing that to get into the film edit because that takes a lot to admit that a guy like Smasher can outride you. Like, I mean, let's just be
there
honest with
could
you.
be well, a guy with a fake hip that probably it could be his dad. I mean, I at 12, 13 years old, I could legitimately be his father, and I got him that day. And I just want you to know he got the cover of
Does
Boondockers this year because I think they were feeling bad for him.
Yeah, probably. Does Dan call you daddy? Just I mean, you just referenced it. I mean, does he call you daddy sometimes or no?
He'll call me Poppy once in a while.
Poppy once in a while. So Dan just dropped a comment here. Let me just add it to the show. It says, "I got owned on January 9th. I admit it. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while." That's
I
perfect.
need you to record that because that needs to go in our movie. Because on all the years I've been writing with Dan, I might have got a good job, or that was okay. You were slow. So this is
Yeah.
this is good. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take that.
So I've got it, over in the comments. So you'll see it in the comments when you watch the video later. But I actually have the ability with the software here to pull that comment into the video. So right now, right below you, it says, "I got owned on January 9th. I admit, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while." So I think that's a kudos. I'm going to take that as a compliment for you, Smasher, right there. So
Yeah, send that to Nick Reedy. We need to send that to. Well,
I mean,
that'll go in next year's film.
yep, it's in the video. There it is. You guys have it. It's
I love it. I love it.
copyright authorized. You can take it. So. All right, so let's fast forward to this season, right? I mean, we just talked about January 9th, one clip, but there was kind of this transition, right? It was the traditional, like every year there was a new film, boom, 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 boom. COVID happened, 2020 happened. You guys recorded obviously the 1920 season, and then 2020 Boondockers, 622 or whatever the number was you guys were at. What about you and I joked about that, right? So the
Yeah.
the there was a pause, right? Like last year you guys just did a series of clips, or was there a full-blown video that went out last year? I don't recall there was, right?
No, it's just some clips.
Yeah. And so now this year, back on track, you guys filmed last year. What can people expect in, Boondocker 2021? So the film.
It'd be along the same thing we've always done. Nick Reedy took it over. He's the man, the myth now, and he owns it. He's
Okay.
running forward with it. He's got some great ideas. We were kind of it was a transition year for Nick. He learned a lot. We've talked quite a
Yep.
bit with him. Dan helped him out with it quite a bit, but for what Nick has had to deal with, he's done a great job. I've seen bits and pieces of the movie, but this year it'll be along the same lines, and I think Nick wants to kind of follow the same idea that's always been there. I mean, we don't want to change it too much. It seems that the fans, the people, our friends, all seem to really like it a lot, and we'll just see where Nick takes it from here. I mean, he's got lots of ideas. He's young. He's energetic. He travels a lot. Man, that guy will pack up in a blink of an eye, and he's ready to go anywhere that the snow is. So
Cool.
that's kind of exciting. I think as a producer, you need to have that kind of energy.
Very cool. Very cool. So is there an official release date that people can expect to be able to either download it, buy it, or find it on a website? Like, tell us a little bit about where and when they can get it.
So I'll be going to the Denver show, and Nick, the Denver Expo. I'll be next to Vogue booth like we have been there for the past, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years. We'll be there, and we'll have the release, and we'll have the video. We'll also be at the Utah show. And then Nick also is going to be putting it on iTunes, and he can probably comment, but I believe we've got probably 3 weeks to a month before it's out on iTunes. It does take a little while to get it onto iTunes, but those are the two ones. And then it'll most likely be online also. So if people can't get it at either two of those shows or on iTunes, it also will be available online.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And if somebody wants an autographed copy, Smasher, you'll make that happen, right?
Oh, of course, come to the booth. Come say hi.
No, I mean
We love
like
them.
right
Yeah.
now, like you're just gonna take it, sign it, and then put it in the
Oh,
mail, right? Like no?
look, yeah, I got one right here, and we'll get. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Hit me up. Anyone
Awesome,
wants an autographed
awesome.
copy? Yeah, we'll
So
get it.
so Smasher, here we are at the end of the show, and I know for a fact that you didn't make all this happen over the years all by yourself, and you got a lot of people that you probably want to say thank you to, including family, friends, sponsors. Let's go through a little list here of people that you owe a little gratitude to.
Well, we'll start off with Eric Vogt at Alpine Motorsports. I've been with him 8 years, and phenomenal. I mean, every year with him is it's growing more and more and more, and I feel like a blessed quote
Yeah.
unquote Vogue athlete. I mean, he really takes care of me. Builds
Rumor
my sled every
rumor
year.
has it a Volk build does not suck.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that.
I
Every
mean,
year that
that's
he's
what I've
built me a
heard.
sled,
Like,
yeah, I've had good mechanics on that. Luke Stover was my mechanic. Now we got Chase Bunning. He's been building my sleds, and
very cool.
couldn't have been happier. Of course, Climb, Zebros, SLP, Truck Boss, Ice Age, 509, Two Cooler Events, Oxbow, Sled Solutions, Sled USA, TKI, and of course Boondockers. They've all helped me. Without all these guys, this hasn't happened for the last 17 years.
Yeah.
And of course, my wife, she's never told me no. I've left for, you know, 3, 4, 5 days when I was a full-time coach, going through an apprenticeship at work, working late nights and coming home and then leaving the next day and be gone. She's always supported me 100%.
That's awesome.
Never bugged me about money that I spent. Nothing. It's been a great ride. It really has. I couldn't have
Yeah.
asked for a better person to help me along the way. When I've
Yeah.
been hurt, she's always been there for me. For all the injuries I've had,
Yeah.
and she never holds it against me. And I believe she's super proud. In fact, she just posted on Facebook. She doesn't ever get on social media, and I saw that, so I thought somebody hacked her Facebook promoting me.
There you go. There you go. That was awesome. I saw it. So nice job. Nice job. So I'm going to ask you a question that you and I didn't talk about ahead of time, but you let me know if you're willing to chat about it here quick, because I'm going to kind of throw you a curveball and potentially we're going to get serious for a minute, right? So the fun
Okay.
part of the show is open, right? So with all the filming and all the crazy things you guys have done, has there been a serious moment on the mountain, whether it be an avalanche, an accident, where you guys have had to jump into action that you feel like you're able and willing to share with our audience tonight to help them understand that, you know what, being an amazing snowmobiler is not only about the fun and the shenanigans and having a good time, but it's about being a good riding partner, right? Is there something that comes to mind that you want to share? If not, no big deal. I got you. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I think it could add a lot of value if you have something and you're willing to share. So,
Uh, yeah, I don't remember. It was quite a few years ago. Matt Ince, myself, Dan Gardner.
yep.
Oh
Oop.
shoot, hold on. Sorry
All
about
good.
that.
All good.
I don't know. We
I
had
mean, you
a
probably got
history here.
you probably got excited and knocked over the camera. I get it. So I mean, it's not every day you get to be
I
on
don't.
Live Large Universe. I mean, it's a kind of a big deal. So
Yeah. Are we still centered, bud?
close enough.
Okay.
Don't. Yep. All
Um,
good.
okay. Matt Ince got in an avalanche. That was probably the most serious. It was very spooky, very scary. We
Yeah.
were sitting at the top of a cornice. We were in the trees. It wasn't anything that you'd even think of.
Yeah.
It was nothing big. Um, I jumped off it, landed. There was rocks. When I turned around to say, "Hey, don't go," Fatty was already in the air, landed. He told Matt, "Don't do it." When Matt went to turn around, the whole mountain broke free, um, and it just carried him. And I was sitting there, and Fatty was yelling, "Get ready, get ready, get ready!" And he was watching him. And there was kind of a bush of a
Yep.
tree, so I couldn't see Matt, and I could just see him. And then I could just see the mountain sliding down. Um, and as soon as it stopped, Fatty was like, "Go, go, go, go!" And I came around the corner, and all I could see was his right hand. I think it was his right hand, and his left foot was wiggling, and to dig him out. And that was probably the moment where I really realized that things can get serious really quick,
Yeah.
like real quick. Had no idea. I mean, honestly, 100%, I would have never thought that it would have broken there. This is probably 9, 10, 11 years ago
Yeah.
that this happened.
Well, then
And
let
so that's when my awareness became more and
Yeah.
more.
Well, and let me just kind of share with everybody that, for those, most everybody I'm sure is going to know Mad Ends, but let me just highlight that Mad is part of, I'm going to stand up here for a second because, like, check this out. We got the Live Large University, right? So that Live Large University is all about a scholarship program over at Erie that we've put together. And we did a big fundraiser last year with the Avalanche Alliance program. We raised a bunch of money. Matt's part of the Erie program. So that avalanche or something around that time is very likely what inspired Matt to now
God
get
bless it.
farther. It's all good, buddy.
Sorry about that.
So, Matt, it inspired Matt to bring his business to the forefront and to drive avalanche education into the community. And fast forward this many years later, like myself, I have a partnership with Matt around this LiveLARGE university program that we have, and he's an advocate there, and so he's providing an avalanche class every year for us to give away as part of this program to promote it. The
Nice.
merchandise, the shirts that I sell, the LiveLARGE Universe shirts and everything, all of those are available on livelargeitemorders.com. All the proceeds from all of those go to that scholarship program. Ongoingly we get donations in there too, and so just know that that moment, that day, as scary as it was, it triggered a culture, a backcountry culture that Matt's and you and everybody's been a big part of to kind of get us to where we are today. And frankly, what's inspired this show years, 3.5 years ago now, is when I started my show, all because of this concept of like, how do we bring safety education, bring people out, make every trip a round trip. And as much as I love to have entertaining shows, I also love to let people walk away feeling like they learned something. So I appreciate you sharing that story of Smasher.
Yeah, it's just crazy how fast, knock on wood, how fast things can change. And
Yep.
man, we've been super lucky. I with some of the dumb stuff, or not dumb, crazy stuff we've done over the
Yeah.
years. I mean, some of the drops and just where we ride and some of the creek bottoms. I mean, you could get seriously hurt. Yeah,
Yep.
I broke my hand in a creek bottom. Sled was on top of me. I was in
Yep.
the water. Fan and Daddy, Fan and Dan and Fatty had to pull the sled off me. Yeah, broke my hand. That was another bad one. But yeah, it can get nasty real quick. So
Yeah.
we've been really lucky.
But you guys are all close together. You keep an eye on each other. I mean, in spite of riding very aggressively, you're also riding very safely, right? You guys are always looking at each other and got each other's back. That's what important. That's what important about having a good backcountry partner in the backcountry. So
You know what it takes? It takes, so last year was a real eye opening. I brought, no, well, I didn't bring, but Nick, Fatty, Dan, all came out here to ride in Nevada last year.
yep.
And, I was excited to have them here. It had dumped like 4 feet. The snow was epic. Avalanche was, the Abbey danger wasn't real high, but, I forgot what, kind of what we were doing. And I took us into a real nasty spot. And Nick Reedy rolled up to me, and he was really mad at me. He
Good.
let me know, hey,
Yeah.
this isn't cool. He brought me down, and then he apologized later. But I said, no, no, no need to apologize. I mean,
Yeah.
I forgot. I was having a good time. I was excited. We were filming, and it was nice to have a friend that was willing to, take a chance and say, hey, this isn't cool.
Yeah.
So that was kind of nice, because you do forget. You get out,
Yeah.
you start having a good time. You see something, you start going, and it takes someone to reel you back in and say, hey, stop.
Yeah.
This is too far.
I'm 100% aligned, and I think that's one of those things that you got to have people in your crew that everybody, and something I make sure I announce at the beginning of all my rides is like, hey, everybody here has a voice today. If there's something in your gut that doesn't feel right today, speak up. I want to hear your thoughts and your voice and your opinion on something. If we're going into something you're not comfortable with, say something, right? So I appreciate the fact that you guys as pro riders are showcasing that kind of partnership on the mountain and setting the example. So nice job.
Absolutely. And even with avalanche beacons and everything, Fatty, Dan, myself, everybody's always checking avalanche beacons before we go, make sure so everybody has it, so
Cool.
yeah, it's just little things that you forget about. You get excited when there's a big dumping of snow, and
Yep.
everybody's raring to go, and it only takes, a split second and everything goes south real quick.
All right. Smasher, I don't know if Colton did this on your podcast, but I just want to be the first podcaster to tell you I sincerely love you, buddy. You're awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You're my friend.
Appreciate it.
You're my buddy. I appreciate you coming on tonight, and I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Please, if you haven't already, share the show out, get it out there, drop a comment in there, let us know where you're watching from. Anything in there, you're entered in to win the prizes that we have given away for each show. But God bless everybody. Live large. Have an amazing night.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.